struggled for a long time with surviving. No matter what, you keep finding something to fight for.
Hello everybody, this is Snarist, and welcome back to the continuation of my The Last of Us, Part 1, Grounded Difficulty Guide, and this is Part 3, Billstown. And so I just come back from a bit of a lunch break, throat's getting dry. That's what happens when I do commentary for long enough and my throat gets real dry. And so this is one of the first real instances where you get to see me kind of cutting all over the place with finding certain gear and equipment. So before I get into more of that, when you first go into Billstown, if you wander down here, there's going to be a clicker in the shed and a clicker down the stairs a bit further and around the corner. Technically, you can get away with not bothering the other clicker. You know, strangely enough, despite how hyper-aware a lot of these enemies are compared to the original and the remaster, sometimes the clickers just really are docile. So he'll be down here, and because I don't like the idea of, you know, jogging around an area, collecting loot and everything, and the idea that this clicker could spring to life and start going through the gate that we're about to go through and pick us off, even though it wouldn't really happen, you know, I still don't want to leave that to chance. I like the idea of searching safely. So there's just a couple of things in there, and then in this building here there's going to be a few more bits and pieces, and then there's going to be a shiv door right before we go and lift Ellie over the gate. And there's going to be about 2 rounds of hunting rifle ammo. So technically in the last area, if you're worried about revolver ammo, or if you're getting low on revolver ammo and you want to save up, then go ahead and use the hunting rifle a couple times or a few times. Because without any upgrades to the clip capacity, the hunting rifle, you can only hold 1 bullet in the chamber and another 6 to spare, so that's 7 bullets overall. And when you upgrade the capacity of the hunting rifle, you get 1 more bullet to add to that. So then the new capacity, when we get it upgraded, will go up to 8, and then from there it'll go up to 9. And speaking of upgrades, I suppose I should talk a bit more about that. So when it comes to the supplements, you want to focus on weapon sway first and foremost, as soon as you can. The next thing you should worry about is maximum health, not because of the bonus that it gives you in terms of your maximum health, because it's not really that much. Although I suppose if you can take a few more hits compared to the original and the remaster, it would be quite useful. But the main point of the maximum health upgrades with supplements is for the purpose that not only does it get you a higher maximum, it also heals you completely. So because there are 2 maximum health upgrades, if you wait till a bit later on in the game, you've essentially got 2 medkits on standby if you run out of medkits, or if you don't want to craft in the middle of battle, or if you don't want to waste your resources, you know, if you want to save it for a Molotov instead. It's absolutely a viable option. So when it comes to weapon upgrades, I don't upgrade the pistol, don't really need to. I do eventually get the small holster and the large holster upgraded, because being able to switch on the fly definitely helps for the later stages when it gets a bit more action heavy, whereas early on in the game here, a lot of it's stealth, and a lot of it, you know, you don't really need to swap between weapons all the time. You can just sort of stick to 1 or 2 guns and that's all you need. But when it comes to the actual guns upgrades, I believe I do eventually upgrade the revolver because I have quite a few rounds for it, and I upgrade the fire rate so it shoots a lot faster. When it comes to the shotgun, I only improve its range, and I believe I do get a couple more upgrades for it near the end of the game, where I improve its fire rate so it can shoot faster. But because I don't have much in the way of shotgun ammo, I don't really need it. So what I just did there before was I go to the very end of the street, and there's a note in the barbed wire, and it has a safe combination, and the safe is on the other side of the fence where that clicker was just sort of chilling out that we killed earlier. Now, I believe you can just use the safe without needing the combination, so you can just use my video as a guide to know what the combination is, because apart from the one safe down in the subway tunnel, I pretty much find every safe in the game. So you go into the music store, you get a revolver bullet in there. You get quite a bit of revolver ammo in this town, so you know, if you want to save it, that's good. You know, I'm pretty sure by the time I get some more ammo for the revolver, I would have gone like 2 or 3 bullets over the limit. And the original and the remaster was weird for this, because after the section where you're hanging upside down and you're shooting with the revolver, I always like to reload before I kill the final clicker, before I drop down, and then I make sure I reload and have a full clip before, because for some strange reason my ammo count would either be really high or really low. And in this version of the remake, I don't know if it's consistent, I'm sure it would be, but I'm pretty sure apart from one bullet, you don't really waste any ammo when you're suspended in the air, which is good. By the way, back here, before you get the bow, there's another shiv door. This is primarily for medical supplies. So you'll find a bottle of alcohol, and you'll find some parts, and you'll find some more supplements. Although it's not going to be till we get into Pittsburgh and we take care of the enemies that are manning the entrance to Pittsburgh, and we take them out, and we move on through to the upstairs area. We'll be able to upgrade our weapon slate completely then, I believe. If not, it'll be after the bookstore. And then, yeah, going forward, if I ever need to heal, I don't want to waste a med kit, or I don't want to waste any more supplies crafting them, I will just use the pills to give myself more maximum health and restoring it to full. Beyond that, you don't need to upgrade anything else. Crafting speed, pretty much useless, because if you have to craft in the middle of combat, you're basically screwed anyway. If you need to heal in the middle of combat, sure, it takes a long time, but I found that for the most part, because the hunters are generally pretty afraid of you because of all your guns, as long as you don't give them the idea that you've got no ammo by shooting when you don't have any rounds in there by accident. Sometimes you can actually use that as a way to lure them out, because if they hear that you've got no ammo, they'll get more aggressive and charge you. But if you've got a brick or bottle, you can use it to throw at them. So I don't really get the chance to use that tactic in this game, in this walkthrough, but it definitely is a viable option. But otherwise, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about any other upgrades, because Shiv Master, you waste a pip of a Shiv, or you waste a whole Shiv just trying to stab an enemy. By the way, when you avoid the bombs and you go off to the left down this area here, there's an infected up here. Just grab one of the mini bricks or bottles and throw it at him. You get some pills out of the bathroom, that's basically it. And something I've got to point out is, don't forget this drawer here, because it has 8 revolver rounds in there. If you miss this, Ellie will pick it up for you and she'll hand it to you. Although I don't know if that affects your ammo count when you go into the section. I don't know if when you come out of it, it'll change, but yeah, everything will die in one shot, but the clickers will take about 3 shots to take down, I think. So, make sure you either have to make sure you don't miss the clickers and take careful shots, or you just have to keep pumping bullets into them before they even get in here. And then make sure you reload, because your reload speed is greatly increased. If these things grab you, you can knock them away by mashing square, but if the clickers grab you, it's all over. And so I knew that I was okay, so that's why I just decided to reload, because you can reload cancel. You can reload cancel by just mashing shoot or something, or just aiming and shooting. That way you'll stop putting all the bullets in there and do that. So when it comes to the other upgrades, hunting rifle capacity is an absolute must. I don't worry about reload speed, I don't worry about the scope, because I think the scope looks hideous, and it's just more of a waste of time, because time you spend aiming out in the open, out in cover, it's more of a chance that enemies from a distance can hit you really, really well. So what you want to do is just avoid the scope. I do put all the upgrades I can into its piercing power and its power, so it does more damage, but the problem is it's unnecessary, so you don't need to do that upgrade, because to be honest, yeah, it kills everything in one shot anyway, unless you're using it against a bloater. But by the time you get the power upgrade for your hunting rifle, there's only those 2 bloaters in the tunnel before you get to the Firefly lab, and I sneak past those and I show you guys how to do it, because they take way more damage than they do in the original / remaster. So the bloaters are way more dangerous. They charge a lot more often, they run, they charge through things, and yeah, they take a lot more punishment even when you set them on fire, to weaken their armor and strip it off. So in this section here, just take whatever weapon you don't really care about wasting too much, like the pistol. So I completely fucked that shot up. So you only need to kill one of them, and then you just sprint after Bill. I think there is, apart from that little health pit there, I think there is something else in here, but I can't find it, and I know if you take too long, other infected will spawn in. So you go ahead and pick up the one-shot melee weapon that you found at the beginning of Bill's town, use it on that clicker, and just start bashing away these guys. You can run around them and get outside and move on to the next area without having to fight, but I just like to fight them anyway, because you get a fresh pipe, so there's no point in just taking that risk. So just run on through, get ahead of Bill, and then when you get into this new area here, you'll be able to pick up a fresh pipe. There'll be a manual to upgrade your shivs by 1 more pip, so if you stab them in the neck, you can do it again 1 more time, but you need a full shiv to be able to open the door, you need a full shiv to open shiv doors, so there's that. But at some point, I'm going to use a bit of weird tech that I found in the original and the remaster, where I found that, if you remember that sniper section in the suburbs, when you go to stab some guy in the neck with his own shiv, technically you do get that shiv, but it's only if you've got the upgrades for the shivs, it's only like a fraction of a shiv that's left. So what you do is, if you don't get any upgrades for the shivs, and you only use it for opening shiv doors, you've technically got a free full shiv. And that's what I would do, whereas in this game that doesn't really apply, because you do get a free full shiv, even with the upgrades. So that worked out well for me, and I know that because I had no shivs, and I deliberately held off from crafting any shivs. I didn't bother doing it, so I had 0 shivs, and when I got to that sniper and I stabbed him with his own shiv, it gave that shiv to me, and even though I'd had full upgrades on the shivs, it still counted as a full shiv, and I was able to open the door right as you get to Tommy's Dam. And I thought that was a really great design. So I don't have to do that retarded, resource management trick that I did back in the original and remaster to be able to accommodate for the remake. So yeah, this section here is a lot easier as well. I've noticed that if you trigger the infected to run at you prematurely, they group up more around the bombs that set off, whereas if you just let them attack you naturally, the problem with that is that only one of them or 2 of them seem to blow up, whereas you can get like 3 or 4 of them if you just throw in the bottle and all that. And you want to find the bricks. The bricks are going to be useful for bashing the heads and the clickers, but make sure you don't sprint at them when you do that, because you'll smack it over their head once, it won't kill them, and you'll break the brick. So you just got to like wait for them to get to you and then just spam square and smack them in the head. Now, as far as the other guns go, I'm so sad what they did to the flamethrower in this game, because the flamethrower in this game is fucking shit. Like, once you upgrade the power, it's pretty good, and you upgrade the range and it's also very good, and it is viable, and I actually used it quite a bit in the Firefly lab, which is the place I never thought I would use it, but yeah. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit, because I don't, as much as I think that the crafting animations are cool for the weapon upgrades and everything, I just think they're more annoying than anything else, so I'm just going to speed through them. So the general rule of thumb is that as soon as you get any upgrade that you can do for the bow, do it. If you really want to, you can go ahead and buy the large craft the large holster and the small holster if you want, but I would prioritize all the bow upgrades that you can do and a capacity upgrade for the hunting rifle, but I would leave the shotgun, the pistols alone, and just leave it at that for the time being. Because once you start getting to the suburbs, where I have the most amount of parts that I do, I'm going to have like 600 or 700 parts, and then you're free to experiment with whatever you want. And hell, throughout the course of the game, I'm going to make more upgrades to my guns than you really need. Because once you find a lack of resources and everything does more damage already, you'll quickly find that you don't need to do a lot of upgrades. I mean, sure, the guns don't always feel the best to use, but they're supposed to be a last resort, and you're supposed to be decent at using them. So no bricks here, unfortunately, so I got a little bit caught off guard by that. And of course, there's the clickers, can hear me. So I do this every once in a while, even to a clicker, where I just shoot it like in the leg, or I shoot it in the body to get it stunned, just to keep it away. And then I go ahead and smack the enemies. It isn't until later on in the game with the winter section, where you're playing as Ellie and you've got David as your temporary companion, or in Pittsburgh when you get Henry and Sam and all that. Henry and David are fucking useless. Like, when it came to Henry especially, I'll talk more about it before, I was close. I'll talk more about it after, when I find him, but the amount of times Henry didn't do what he was supposed to, or didn't call out any enemies, or didn't cover me, or was taking shots at an enemy but never hitting him, but the moment I decided to flank around and pop out of cover, they just instantly bam and domed me. Like, part of the reason why Pittsburgh took me like an hour and a half to beat in the recording session, but the actual video is only going to be like 40 minutes or so long, is because mostly of Henry, because he just wouldn't fucking do his job, and I called him no shortage of racial slurs in my time when I was doing that. I mean, sometimes you just gotta, So, if you could progress through far enough, there'll be like a clicker or 2 less for you to fight. But if you take a while and then you come down here, then you won't despawn a couple of these clickers, so you have a lot more to fight. But I just make sure I find all the bricks I can, know their locations, and I go ahead and bash all their heads in, save my pipe. But again, if you run at them full speed and you hit the pipe, when you go to do the wide swing, they won't grab you, and you'll hit them, and you'll do a ton of damage, and you'll stagger them a little bit. So hopefully you only need to hit them once or twice more to be able to get the... See, that was almost a fail. See, I was sprinting at him, I almost broke the brick on him. If I didn't stop at the time that I did, that would have put me in a really bad spot. So there's going to be there's going to be a plant over there, and I go ahead and I almost get killed. I thought I was going to die then. But I break the pipe and I've got nothing left. So we're moving on to this section here, and this is where things get a little bit confusing, because me and Bill are going to take care of these 2, but then there's going to be a cut. Well, that's because I was going back down the alleyway to the left, and I strangled that guy down there, but then I died a couple times in this whole section here because I wanted to get stingy with my bullets. So we've already choked out those two guys, and it gives me a checkpoint here as well, which is really strange. So you kill those two, and I failed here a couple times, so it gave me a checkpoint. I just went ahead and did anyway. So I choked this infected out, and I move on through, and because, again, the stealth in this is basically impossible, and you get more resources than you normally do in the original remaster, I feel a lot more confident in taking on these enemies. So I'm just going to go ahead and bash this clicker's head into the brick, and it's going to be an infected coming down the hill. Bill will take pot shots at it, and even though Bill doesn't kill these enemies, you have to keep in mind as well that he's still doing damage to them. So even though it takes a little while for him to kill any of these enemies, he still does enough damage to where you can kill them pretty easily. I've found that for the general infected, the general rule of thumb when it comes to the infected is that they die in 6 standard hits. If you sprint at them and punch them and do like a big wide swing, you only need to hit them about 4 or 5 times. But if you get Bill to hit them a couple times with a shotgun or a couple times with his machete, they only go down in about 3 hits or so. You know, don't quote me on that, but that's how it was for me at least. So grab another brick, find the clicker that's around here somewhere. I believe he's up the stairs just by the playground set, but I don't really see him because I'm blind. I mean, even in the recording footage I looked around and I couldn't even see him. It's possible he just wandered over from around a corner somewhere, but I really couldn't see him. And I suppose, now that I think about it, because right now I'm in the middle of uploading Dead Space 2 with my Zealot difficulty walkthrough, and Chapter 6 was the most recent release, and that's actually done pretty well. It's gotten over 10 views, and that's pretty good for me. And compared to all the other Dead Space 2 videos, it's doing a lot better than all the others, but well, I did kind of expect that Zealot's kind of a nothing difficulty. People don't really pay attention to Dead Space 2 when it comes to the highest difficulty. I know hardcore is definitely going to be what people would want to look for, and I'm hoping that even though it's a bit of a longer video and, you know, it can get lost in the source, you know, I'm hoping it gets quite a bit of traction. I'm really hoping it does. But by the time I release all of my Dead Space 2 content, it'll be pretty much at the beginning of March, and then I've got to release the Last Stand videos I've made, along with, what do we got, Shadow of Mordor, because I'm doing a no upgrade run of Shadow of Mordor. If you haven't seen that already, you can check it out. It'll be available by now. But I suppose now that I think about it, by the time this playthrough gets out, or this walkthrough I guess, it'll be about April or mid-April, maybe even a bit longer. So the whole joke I'll be doing with The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered definitely will go by, where I play the first section of the game on chronological mode, so I get rid of all the flashback scenes and I can sort of bounce between Ellie and Abby. And I know I get a bit ahead of myself and I get, you know, pretty caught up in my feelings about that game, and like, it is a good game as far as it goes, but there's just so much it does so badly, and, you know, even from a design perspective of the gameplay, it's just so unfun, it's so unfair, it's so slow, it's boring, it just, there's very little like of a hook to it. The only hook I have, the only tether I have to that game right now is the fact that I haven't beaten it, and I'm a huge Last of Us fan, but it's the one like black sheep of the whole thing when it comes to any product ever made by The Last of Us, even more than the show. This is, Part 2 is definitely the black sheep of the whole like franchise, and, you know, it's another one of these, like, you know, Game of Thrones Season 8 or, you know, Star Wars The Last Jedi subversions and, you know, ruining the story. I know that The Last of Us is Neil's baby and it's his story and that's something he made and he's passionate about, but it must have killed him on the inside so much by seeing seeing Bruce Straley as the game director telling him, no, you shouldn't do this, that's fucking stupid. And then they didn't do that, and the game turned out to be a massive success. I bet Neil probably felt not only jealous, but angry and bitter, and that there's no way that his ideas could fail now, because he'd been told by everybody his ideas were stupid. But then the moment Bruce left, A&E was pretty much on the chopping block. He took over Uncharted 4 and fucked that game's story up. Like, I don't know why people think Uncharted 4 story is good. The only good thing about Uncharted 4 story was Rafe. Rafe was great. Everything else fucking sucked. I'm sure the game was fun and the game was, you know, good, and I played quite a bit of the multiplayer, but yeah. Oh, by the way, this section here, while I pause that rant, just run on through here. The further on you push, the less infected will end up spawning. Try to kill this one guy in front of him, take the other guy down to lower health, and you can just smack the shit out of him and kill him. And try to line them all up and hit them with a shotgun. Don't feel stingy with your bullets. You know, wait till there's about 2 or 3 of them, get a brick or bottle to stun one of them, and then start punching the other 2. You know, let one distract Bill, and then go around pick up ammunition. But anyway, what I was saying before is that Neil thought that his ideas were too big to fail, and then I really do believe that it's all just copium, because part 2 didn't sell as well as they're telling people that it did. And it's only for the fact that I love a good challenge, and I have tried to play part 2 on grounded difficulty before. By the way, this section here, just ignore everything, go around the school and wait here for the infected to show up, because then Bill, if you wait too long and you don't do this at the window by pushing triangle and mashing it, Bill will open up the window and he takes ages and you've got to hold off against a couple of infected. But yeah, I just wish that part 2 was a lot better and was not as long, not as drawn out. I'm drawn to the fact that it is a challenge, and I have played on grounded before, and I've gotten as far on chronological mode as the section where the landmine blows up the horse, and so Dina comes and rescues Ellie, and they've got to fight their way out of the school. That's such a stupid fucking sequence. I snuck all the way out to when you're in the grass area and you're sneaking through the grass and waiting till they all turn around, and I go up the ramp and everything, and I'm quiet as a mouse. I'm not making any noise, and suddenly like 5 or 6 of them just come running down the ramp. It's like, we're here for backup. Oh shit. It's like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? The game punishes you for being stealthy. You stealth through them all, you don't alert them, you don't give them any sign that you're still around, and yet these fucking assholes just spawn in on you. That's not fair, that's fucking bullshit. There's no way for you to hide, there's no way for you to react. There's 5 or 6 of them, there's guys behind you of the same count. I've managed to get close to the end of that section, going completely stealthy, and even using some stupid tricks, but by the time I get there, they know where I am, and when they know where I am, I'm getting to the end of this hallway, and there's this window that I have to crawl through, but I'm waiting there 15 seconds, it says that I can do it, but it's got like a line through it or something saying that I can't do it, and I'm waiting there for 15 seconds mashing the button, like, let me the fuck in, and like, Dina's here and everything, but because the enemies are alluded to my position, and they're still alive in the area, I have to wait for them to come to me so I can kill them and get through. But I couldn't kill them because there were like 10 of them, and I was locked into a tiny little hallway. I had almost no ammo to work with, because unlike with this remake, the ammo count goes back to the original, and remaster, in terms of like low ammo counts. You don't have the resources you need to survive, and all the items are significantly worse than they were in the first game. It's just such a stupid sequence, so I had to cheat in that sequence by messing with the accessibility options by making the enemy's awareness slightly lower, just so it was a bit more balanced, but that is technically cheating. I mean, if you really want to count accessibility as cheating, technically you can just switch on all the options you want and go prone so that you're completely stealthy and they can't find you, but because the game's like AI is ramped up so much because of the whole like they're hyper aware of your presence, they're all just like circling around your body, like laying prone on the ground, like all 5 and 6 of them. But at the same time, I think they disable trophies if you play on grounded with accessibility options. It's like, oh yeah, we care about accessibility. We care about, giving people the chance to access our games and play them whatever difficulty they want. But then they go ahead and say, oh yeah, by the way, if you're a disabled retard, you can't fucking get trophies or achievements on grounded because that doesn't count. It's like, so much for inclusion though, isn't it? You fucking pricks. So anyway, that run went on for way longer than I should have, because I should have been talking about the bloater. Now the bloater, you just got to hit it with a Molotov for the first time, weaken its armor at the front, and then you can shoot it in the chest. It takes way more shots to take down. Use all your basic pistol ammo if you want. Use a couple of revolver shots and use some of your shotgun, because you'll get a bunch of shotgun in the sequence coming up. But when it comes to the bloater, keep an eye out for when it does a wind up. Try to run on an angle away from it, because it'll throw down spores. And keep an eye on where these spores are, because unlike in the previous game, or the previous game's version, the spores are really hard to see. They're practically invisible, and when you wander into them, they do so much more damage. And even if you've got full health, if you get hit square in the face by that thing, it's basically an instant kill, which is fair enough, I guess. But because bloaters are far from the hardest thing in the game, but it's still really annoying. So you just search the house. Don't forget the shotgun and all the shells you can find in that bag just in the corner of the garage. Wander on through, pick everything clean, and then you've got to defend the truck on a few different waves, or more than a few waves if you take too long to push it. And that'll be the end of Bill's Town. So yeah, obviously I have my gripes with part 2. One of these days I am tempting the idea that I might go back to it on chronological mode, because I've still got my save game in there and everything. I'll just pick up from where I left off and make like a prologue part 2 or something. I might adjust the title and the name of the video that I'm going to be making, or well, at this point in time when the video releases have made, and then I'll maybe look into going with it again and trying again. But I'd have to look at some tutorials, because there are some sections in that game where I'm just like, how the fuck can anybody do this? Like, it isn't just a matter of like, oh, it's like super hard, it's one of the hardest things ever. It's like, no, it's just a lack of knowledge of the game. I spent more time getting frustrated over what the game doesn't do, or how much the game cucks me in both the story and the gameplay, more than the actual trying to learn strategies. Because I've seen some gameplay on how people deal with that, and yeah, there's some really talented players, but the problem is you just don't have the ammo for it. You don't have the ammo or the movement, and whenever I'm flanking and popping out of cover, if I'm even slightly in the enemy's peripherals, they fucking shoot me down as soon as I pop up. It's like, if they're aggressive, if they flank you all the time, and you've only got so much ammo and your animations are slow and they're bouncy and you bump off of walls, how are you supposed to deal with AI that has aimbot? There's several of them. They're designed to see you and engage in you in combat no matter what. Like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Yeah, I'm getting frustrated just talking about it. So I'll just say here with this, if you get chased down by one of these general infected, just hold sprint and move backwards. Eventually they'll get closer towards you, they'll try to grab you, but they'll always fail. They'll reach out for you, they'll grab you, but they'll completely whiff. But don't get too far away from the truck, because if you do, Bill will get grabbed or Ellie will get grabbed, and if you're too far away still, well, there's just going to be no hope for you to catch up unless you shoot them from a distance and your aim is good. And so I just absolutely smashed the fuck of the guy's head in. But there goes my brick, and that's unfortunate because I would have liked to have kept the brick for the next one. And in the next section coming up, we're going to be thrown immediately into combat in Pittsburgh, so I'm going to switch to the hunting rifle because I've got almost full ammo and I need it. That's the end of this part, and I'll see you guys next time.